state representative here in the McAllen area for District 41 since I was elected in 2004. And as was mentioned, and I'll touch on this some more on redistricting, because there's uncertainty as to the maps, we don't know yet what we're running. But I can tell you it has been my privilege and my honor to represent District 41 and to hope that we're going to get a settled map sooner than later. But my home was drawn into what is now District 40, which is an area completely different. I know you probably read articles in the newspaper. District 41, as what I had, no longer exists. In fact, only about 1.5% of the entire district remains. And that 1.5% is probably where my house is and a couple of streets right around it. The rest of the district is new. In fact, it encompasses the city of San Juan, part of FAR, a large part of FAR, and a part of Eddyburg. The part of Eddyburg that I didn't have runs all the way up to Lynn San Manuel and all the way down to the Hidalgo area. So it's a very, very different map than what had existed. But let me get back to the difficulty of this session. For many reasons it was difficult. It was difficult because Texas has grown tremendously, but yet the money that we have has not. And so we had a decision to make, as was mentioned. Do we go with cuts only, or do we try to put everything on the table and try to do a more pragmatic approach? Unfortunately, I thought the budget was draconian, and I think the budget was balanced on the backs of the poor and children. Because if you start looking at the details of the budget, it was cut, and I don't remember how many $1 billion was cut, but for the first time, we did not fund enrollment growth in schools. And if you know the Valley, you know that we're birthing more than one elementary school a month in the Rio Grande Valley, but we have no new money for public schools under this budget. And I understand that people don't like taxes. I'm a taxpayer myself. I don't want to pay more taxes either. But there were other options as well. We had a rainy day fund that had over $6 billion left in it, and it was expected to grow to about $9 billion or possibly more. But it was not touched. Not one dime of it was touched. The only time we touched the rainy day fund was to pay for the bills that we have this year that we were short on money for, but none for the new biennium. We looked at whether we were going to close some loopholes that existed in the tax system. That was not done. And we looked also at whether or not we would have gaming. That did not pass. In fact, I don't even think it never made it to the floor. They were trying to get it out of committee and couldn't get it out of committee. So there were some options to raise new revenue, but none of those came through. The rainy day fund wasn't touched, and the budget was cut to where public education was cut $4 billion. The Medicaid system that currently exists is short $4 billion. Billion, these are all billions with a B. And we know that we will have to go back and appropriate some more money to fund the Medicaid system. And while you may not agree with Medicaid and say it doesn't impact me because I'm not on it, a lot of those people that are not going to have access to Medicaid are going to end up in the emergency rooms, which is going to cost all of us in this room. And the county will pass down the cost for indigent care to us. So it does impact us. We had higher education. The grant programs were cut tremendously by $1 billion. Texas grants that so many of our students here rely upon from the University of Texas Pan American cut about $59 million. And on the redistricting, I will tell you this. It's a hard pill to swallow when you get left with 1% of your district. But my pledge is to the Rio Grande Valley, to the region, to representing the interests that we all have here, and that is to try to have a more educated workforce, to make sure people have access to care, to create jobs, not just any jobs, but good paying jobs, and to making sure that kids have the opportunity to better their lives by going to college. And so whether you live in FAR, Texas, or whether you live in McAllen, Texas, that's still the same. And that's what my fight is in the Texas House of Representatives. So I will be running for re-election, and if you're in my district, I ask for your support. If you're not in the district that exists, then tell your friends who are in the district. And again, thank you so much. By the way, we did have a bill that I thought was good for the Valley. The governor vetoed it, but it was to create a border economic bureau on how to improve economics along the Texas-Mexico border. That was important to me because I chair the border committee, the Border and Governmental Affairs Committee. Steve was there. I think y'all put in testified in favor of it. We had many that came and testified in favor of it. It passed not unanimously, I don't believe, but close to unanimously in the House of Representatives. It passed the Senate unanimously, and the governor vetoed it. It wasn't going to cost the state a dime, not a dime, because it was going to be funded at a private university. But it could have brought potential for millions of dollars to be brought to the border regions. So I ask you to think about things like this when you're getting informed on how to vote in elections. And again, I hope that it's not my last time in front of a crowd in McAllen, but I want y'all to know how much I have always appreciated the wonderful support I've received here, and will continue to work to better the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you.